Well, we're going to do a really fun, easy exercise right now. It's called the painting behind exercise, and it's a great way to put in a lot of values and get you thinking about values in your picture. So I've just riffed a little sketch of a woods with trees. Those are not anatomically correct trees, just designs, just shapes. And now I've come up with a solution. I've added green paint to water to make a puddle, and I've stirred the paint really well in the puddle, and I'm just painting behind the shapes that I've drawn with a sable brush. I'm working on regular watercolor paper. It's 100% cotton. It's Arches, 140-pound cold press, but any kind of 100% rag content paper will do. And you can see I've got one brush where I'm putting in the paint, and then I've got another brush that I bring in that's just wet with clean water, and I'm sort of pulling the color out into the empty space. So it's a little bit like shading with a brush. So there's the paint, and there's my water brush where I'm pulling in the paint into a wet space and just sort of grading the value a little bit. And there I've added some pure solution into already wet paper. You can do it different ways, but I'm just filling in the space behind the branches. I'm painting behind my trees, and just pulling out the paint. And I'm working with a really good mixture, a rich mixture of the paint, but not real dark yet. It's kind of a mid-tone, and I'm feathering it out with the water. I put my sponge there. It's a damp sponge, and I like to touch my brushes to the sponge because they wick up some of the excess water in paint solution. And I'm just scrubbing with the. Oh, here I'm fixing it. I'm rubbing clean water over some of where I went over the lines, and I've let it sit for a minute and scrub it with that little 1/4-inch flat brush, and then I come back with a Kleenex or a puff tissue, and I just sort of blot it out. They don't tell you about how to fix mistakes in watercolor very often. And if this had been Viridian green, which is my favorite green, it would have lifted up a whole lot easier. Now I've taken a pencil and I'm drawing some more trees back there. I'm just making it up, just spontaneously drawing more shapes, because I'm going to paint behind those, because this is an exercise where we're going to have several different values of this green to create an illusion of depth in this woods. And so you can see that was a slightly darker. There's my first value, and now I've added more pigment to the solution, and you can see it's a much darker value I'll be working with now. And so when I'm satisfied with my test strip that I've got a good dark green to go back in a second time, I'm tapping the brush to the sponge, and I'm going in with a darker value, preserving the white spaces of the new tree shapes that I've created. And there I am painting behind all the negative spaces except for the shapes of the new sets of trees that I've done in the background. So we're not painting any positive shape, we're not coloring any of the trees. We're coloring the spaces behind the trees. Negative space. It's a great negative space exercise. And if you ever need an exercise to sort of push you quickly into right brain mode, this is a good one for that, because you'll start getting time sort of slows to a stop here as you're working with this kind of an exercise, and the shapes and patterns just sort of take over, and it becomes enjoyable to play with the brush. And again, this is a speeded up video. This is going about 4 times faster than the actual process. So I like to paint slow as you go and just steady, and there's no haste, there's no urgency, and we're just moving at a nice peaceful pace, putting in shapes, letting the shapes sort of dictate what you're going to do next and where you're going to paint. And there I am cleaning up. You know, I'm getting where I'm kind of satisfied with the design, and I'm cleaning up some edges again. Anytime I think it's important for watercolor painters to clean up after themselves, and if you have gone over a line, it's a good idea to run back over it with a clean brush and blot out the mistakes to keep things nice and clean and crisp, and keep crisp silhouettes and crisp edges. And I'm not nearly careful enough with that sometimes. Now I'm painting some more tree shapes. I'm drawing rather with my 6B pencil, soft carbon, and because I still want to push back into the woods a little more with another backdrop of trees. So having drawn a few more branches in back there, a few more trunks, I'm making yet another darker mixture of green, trying to make it maybe one value step darker. And you can go as dark as you want. Make that woods as deep and dark and mysterious as you care to. So I hope you've enjoyed this little value painting exercise. For more great painting tips and videos, check out my blog at epaintinginstruction.com.